My friends, we have hit 110,000 subscribers in an amazing amount of time. I want to thank you all for that. I urge you folks to check your subscriptions to make sure you are still subscribed, and if you are not as of yet subscribed, please join us. We need you in this cause. Thank you. Recently, I have been receiving leaks and information from sources in the know, upset with the direction that Disney has been taking Star Wars because there is a split within Lucasfilm between Kennedy loyalists and those who actually love actual Star Wars. I will be delivering a video next week about this split, but for now it seems clear to me that one side is getting information to me and the other side is attacking that information through shills and trolls. All well and good. It goes with the territory and I would expect nothing less. But what can we make of it when Jar Jar Abrams himself confirms much of what we've been saying all along? In recent articles in Rolling Stone and Esquire, Kathleen Kennedy and Jar Jar Abrams have gone a long way toward confirming a number of things that I've reported as rumors. But perhaps more importantly, Jar Jar Abrams has confirmed in Esquire something a number of us have known all along. The Fandom Menace is winning. A number of YouTubers have seized on Jar Jar mentioning the Fandom Menace by name in Esquire as a moral victory of sorts. Proof that Disney knows we exist and is listening. But I would go one step further. An examination of what Abrams actually said indicates to me something far more significant than that. It indicates that the Fandom Menace is winning, and Disney is nearly ready to bend the knee. Disney, and with it, Hollywood. The article in Esquire magazine interviewing Jar Jar Abrams was a capitulation of sorts, a concession, a bending of the knee. In the past, Jar Jar has joined Kathleen Kennedy and Ruin Johnson in framing all of us as sexist, racist trolls. If we had a problem with The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, according to this narrative, it's because we feared strong women, because we didn't like diversity, because we're haters, and of course it had nothing at all to do with the shoddy writing, the lack of respect for George Lucas and fans, the discarding of Star Wars canon, the insertion of identity politics into our modern myths. None of that mattered. None of our concerns were valid. It was all us and not them at all. The fault was not in our Star Wars, but ourselves. Haters are gonna hate, this narrative went. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Move along. Move along. Disney, Lucasfilm, the mainstream media, all were aligned in lockstep to frame the narrative in this way. They've been remarkably disciplined in this approach for years. But all that changed with this Esquire article, despite Esquire's attempt to perpetuate that lie. In the article, Disney apologist and corporate sycophant Matt Miller, who has attacked me before incidentally as a toxic troll, poses this question. Over the last couple of years, since The Last Jedi came out, I've been writing a lot about the response to that movie and some of the toxic fandom around Star Wars in this new era. And there are some fans who take issue with the filmmaking, other fans who take issue with some of the more progressive themes. I'm curious, how do you watch the response to Star Wars change in this modern era compared to maybe the prequel series or how fans originally responded to them? To which Jar Jar Abrams replied, I think that the bigger question is, how has everything changed? The reaction to Star Wars, the increased attacks, the increased negativity, the Fandom Menace as they call it, you know, that is not unique to Star Wars, obviously. And I think we live in a time where if you're not being divisive, if you're not creating something that's a verse quick bait, sick, sometimes you don't quite feel like you're playing the game. I always loved Star Wars because it's got a huge heart. Did I always believe in and agree with every single thing that happened in every movie, whether it was the prequels or the original trilogy? No. But do I love Star Wars? Yes. So for me, I hope, and I'm sure naively, we can return to a time where we give things a bit more latitude. We don't have to agree with every single thing to love something. I don't know anyone who has a spouse or a partner or any family member or any friend who loves and agrees with every single thing that that person is and does. We have to return, I think, to nuance and acceptance. And so I feel like as a Star Wars fan, do I love every single thing about each of the movies? No. But do I love Star Wars? Hell yes, I do. Submitted for your consideration. Matt Miller is trying his shill best to play ball with Abrams in this article. Notice how he frames the question. I've been writing a lot about the response to that movie and some of the toxic fandom around Star Wars in this new era. Even placing a link to his original toxic fandom article in that paragraph. He places the phrase toxic fandom in the subheading beneath the headline. He places toxic fandom in the opening paragraph, and then he uses the phrase toxic fandom again in the question itself, just like the good little corporate propagandist he is. Miller is doing everything possible to obey his past marching orders from Disney, portraying us all as toxic trolls. But then something very interesting happens. Jar Jar Abrams checks his swing at that softball, puts down his bat, and pulls out a white flag. Think about the recent past. In response to such a question then, just like Kathleen Kennedy or Ruan Johnson, Jar Jar would have said something along the party lines like, there will always be a small but vocal minority of the fandom that can't accept new ideas. These people will never accept that sometimes change is good, and sadly they're threatened by strong female characters and people of color, and so these toxic fans cling to the past and feel threatened by diversity and can't see that Star Wars is better than ever. Blah, 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 the usual drill. I can recite it in my sleep. Abrams could have said the same things here in this article, but he didn't. What he said was essentially nothing less, in my view, than a plea to the Fandom Menace for peace. He didn't admit wrongdoing, but for the first time that I can recall, despite being baited by the mainstream media's shill Miller, who thrice attempts to reinforce the toxic fandom narrative in this article, Abrams declined to go down the racist, sexist troll route and instead used conciliatory language. This is a radical shift in tone, and in my view it represents, if not a bending of the knee, a white flag of truce at the very least. It proves that not only has Disney heard us, they fear us. That much has been clear for a while now. When Solo tanked because of the Fandom Menace, everything changed. Iger canceled the Boba Fett and Obi-Wan standalone movies, transforming them into television shows. Indeed, the development of Roost of Soywoker has been so fraught with reshoots that were confirmed in this article, by the way, and rumored test screenings which have been confirmed to me by multiple sources, along with merchandise sales in the wonderful world of Disney Toilet, at the lackluster Galaxy's Edge theme park. Iger has recently confirmed that new Star Wars movies are going on hiatus for the foreseeable future. By these metrics, those of us who live in a fact-based world have known for a long time that the Fandom Menace is winning. These changes in corporate direction are proof that the Fandom Menace is not only being heard, but feared. But Abrams' answer to the heavily baited question in this article is sending a clear signal, in my view. Make no mistake, here was a perfect opportunity to further the toxic fan narrative in a major publication on the eve of the release of Rise of Skywalker, but instead Abrams backed off. Abrams waved the white flag and uttered a plea for reconciliation. This is what the early stages of surrender looked like, the ceasefire before the treaty. This was a capitulation, a de-escalation of rhetoric, an overture of reconciliation. And yet Kathleen Kennedy is still running Lucasfilm. Ruan Johnson's trilogy has not yet been officially canceled, and it is still canon that Luke was a cowardly milk-sucking surrender monkey. A surrender monkey who got his ass kicked by a student, his nephew. And so I ask, how can there be peace while these outrages remain so? De-escalation of the lies directed at us for years is a good first step, but it's not enough. We require things to be made right. We require that Lucasfilm be pried out of the claws of Kathleen Kennedy. We require that Ruan Johnson never again be allowed to make a Star Wars movie. We require that the sequel trilogy be decanonized, declared to be nothing more than fan fiction, nothing more than a bad dream. And we require an apology for calling the truest and purest of fans, the very fans who have kept Star Wars alive in their hearts for more than 40 years, toxic. These are our terms of surrender. Only when they are met can peace be restored to that galaxy far, far away. Because without respect, we reject. Until that time, I urge you to boycott Roos of Soywoker. Let's make certain that Disney never forgets the name Fandom Menace. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry. Ha 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 ha.